The oldest known references to eclipses in China are found on oracle bones of the semi-legendary Bronze Age Shang dynasty. They often record the stem and branch symbols of the day of the eclipse, and sometimes the month as well, but the year is not given. Most of the inscriptions follow a standard formula, giving the stem and branch followed by the expression Ryu Shiji, which means the sun was eaten, or in the case of a lunar eclipse, the moon was eaten. Many eclipses have been recorded in the Chinese classics, from the Shu Qing Book of History and onwards. The records of the Xia dynasty present a remarkable passage which states that Shi and Ho, the hereditary holders of the office of court astronomer, had failed to predict an eclipse, and thus the special rituals required to dispel the malign forces were not organized. The ruler, Zhang Kang, at the start of his rulership reign in 2159 BC, put the Prince of Yin in charge of the armed forces and ordered him to punish the astronomers, not so much for having failed in their duties, but more for the fact that they led such dissipated lives and cared little for their responsibilities or the consequences of the eclipse. The Shu Qing records of Book 4 tell us the tale. It says, "Now here are Shi and Ho, depraved and stupefied by wine. They have deserted their posts and have allowed the regulations of heaven to crumble. On the first day of the last month of autumn, there was a near total eclipse in the constellation called Fang. Though the blind musicians beat the drums and all the people rushed about, the families of Shi and Ho behaved like deaf mutes and did nothing. The old edicts declare, when they over-anticipate the time of an event, or when they are behind the time, let them be put to death without mercy." Theoretically, this is one of the first passages in Chinese history for which it is possible to calculate a precise date. Zhang Kang acceded to power in 2159 BC and reigned for 13 years, limiting the date of the eclipse to sometime between 2159 and 2146 BC. Bearing in mind that it was a partial eclipse visible in China, and it occurred in the constellation called Fang, and it happened on the first day of the last month of autumn, that is, at the time of the new moon following the autumn equinox, attempts have been made to compute this actual date. One suggestion is October 22nd, 2173 BC. What became of the families of Shi and Ho is not recorded. A later account of an eclipse and the attendant ceremony is given in the additional commentaries on the Spring and Autumn Annals, a work whose compilation is ascribed to the editorial hand of Confucius. The record states, "When this eclipse occurred, the emperor fasted and had the drums beaten before the altar of the earth god, while the princes of the states presented offerings before their altars and had the drums beaten in their own courts." In ancient China, heaven revealed its intentions to mankind through celestial phenomena. So it was essential for the heavenly manifestations to be under continual surveillance both night and day, so that the omens could be recorded, interpreted, and not least acted upon. The Astronomical Bureau had a staff of 28, watching the stars, planets, and comets by night, and eclipses, halos, and auras by day. Ceremonies similar to those described in the Shu Qing were still performed in China as late as the 19th century.